How does a woman's secret affair spiral into public humiliation and the loss of everything she thought she controlled? What happens when her husband, once the target of her jokes, delivers divorce papers in front of her family, armed with every receipt? Can someone who always believed she deserved more explain away losing her own home? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The notification sound from my phone made my stomach drop. Another message from Luke, probably with another excuse about why he couldn't meet tonight. I was sitting in our living room, watching Jonas methodically organize his tax documents at the kitchen table, like he did every weekend, when I realized I couldn't take another minute of this suffocating routine. "You know what your problem is, Jonas?" I said, not looking up from my phone. "You're so predictable. Same routine, same boring conversations, same everything." He glanced up from his papers, those tired brown eyes meeting mine. "I'm just trying to keep our finances organized, Isola. Someone has to." "See, that's exactly what I mean." I stood up, walking to the kitchen counter. "When was the last time we did something spontaneous? When did you last surprise me with anything?" Jonas set down his pen. "Last month I surprised you with dinner at that new Italian place you wanted to try." "That wasn't spontaneous. I had to practically beg you to make reservations." I scrolled through my phone, finding the photo Luke had sent me earlier from the conference we'd both attended. He looked so confident, so alive. Everything Jonas wasn't. My mother's voice echoed in my head from our conversation yesterday. "Honey, you're 32 years old. You deserve to feel excited about your life. If Jonas can't give you that spark, maybe you need to find it elsewhere." The photo Luke sent was perfect. Him at the hotel bar, looking directly at the camera with that charming smile. I added a caption, "Some people know how to make Monday feel like Friday," and posted it to my Instagram story. "What are you posting now?" Jonas asked, returning to his paperwork. "Just work stuff. You wouldn't understand." I watched as likes started appearing on my story. My friends from the group chat were already responding with fire emojis and comments about how I deserved better. Sophie wandered into the kitchen, dragging her stuffed rabbit. "Mummy, why do you and Daddy talk different now?" "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I knelt down to her level, though my attention was split between her question and my phone buzzing with notifications. "You sound mad all the time, and Daddy looks sad." Jonas looked up from his papers, and for a moment, something passed between us. Guilt. Recognition. I pushed the feeling away. "Adults sometimes have complicated conversations, Sophie. It doesn't mean anything's wrong." I kissed her forehead. "Why don't you go play in your room for a bit?" After Sophie left, the silence stretched between Jonas and me. He was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Isola, can I ask you something?" "Sure." I was still scrolling through responses to my story. "Are you happy? I mean, really happy with us?" The question caught me off guard. For a split second, I considered telling him the truth. That I felt trapped, that Luke made me feel alive in ways Jonas never had, that I'd been meeting someone who actually listened to me. Instead, I deflected. "Why would you ask that? Are you trying to start a fight?" "No, I just—" He rubbed his temples. "You seem different lately. Distant. And you're always on your phone." "I'm not always on my phone. God, Jonas, you're so paranoid." I turned away from him, but I could feel his eyes on me. "Can I see your phone for a second? I need to check directions to my mum's house for tomorrow." My heart started racing. "Why can't you use your own phone?" "The battery's dead and it's charging upstairs." I hesitated just a moment too long. "Fine, but make it quick." I handed him my phone, watching carefully as he opened the Maps app, but I saw him swipe to my messages for just a second before I snatched it back. "Did you just look at my texts?" "No, I was just trying to get to Maps and—" "You were looking at my private messages." That's a complete violation of privacy, Jonas. He stared at me for a long moment. You're right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. But something in his tone had changed. There was a coldness there I'd never heard before. That night, I lay awake thinking about Luke's latest message. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You deserve so much better than what you have. He was right. I did deserve better. I deserved someone who made me feel beautiful, desired, important, someone who didn't spend weekends doing taxes and asking boring questions about happiness. I must have dozed off, because I woke up around 2 a.m. to find Jonas's side of the bed empty. I could hear faint sounds coming from downstairs. Curious, I crept to the top of the stairs and peered down. Jonas was sitting at his laptop in the living room, and from what I could see, he was looking at my social media accounts. My Instagram was open on his screen, and he seemed to be scrolling through my recent posts. "What are you doing?" I called down, startling him. He quickly closed the laptop. "Couldn't sleep, just checking some work emails." On my Instagram, I wanted to see what you'd been posting lately. We don't really talk about your day anymore." I came down the stairs, anger building in my chest. "So instead of asking me about my day, you decide to spy on me online. That's really healthy, Jonas." "You're right, I'm sorry." But he didn't look sorry. He looked calculating. The next morning, I met Luke at our usual cafe downtown. He was already waiting in our corner booth, looking effortlessly handsome in his navy suit. "You look stressed," he said, standing to kiss my cheek. The familiar scent of his cologne made my pulse quicken. "Jonas is being weird. I think he suspects something." Luke's hand found mine across the table. "What kind of weird?" Looking through my phone, checking my social media. Last night I caught him on my Instagram at 2 a.m. Maybe it's time to have that conversation with him. About us, I mean. My heart leaped. "You mean?" "I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about leaving our situations and starting fresh." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "I can't keep pretending my marriage is working when all I think about is you." "When?" The word came out breathier than I intended. "Soon. I need to handle things carefully with the kids, but soon." He lifted my hand to his lips. "Can you wait a little longer for me?" I nodded, feeling like I was floating. Finally, someone who understood what I needed. When I got home that afternoon, Jonas was in the kitchen making Sophie a snack. She was coloring at the table, but she looked up when I walked in. "Mummy, where were you?" "Just running errands, baby." "But Daddy called your work and they said you weren't there today." My blood went cold. I looked at Jonas, who was spreading peanut butter on bread with deliberate precision. "Why were you calling my work?" "Sophie wanted to talk to you around lunchtime. I thought I'd surprise you by having her call." His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. "They said you'd called in sick." I wasn't feeling well this morning, so I took a personal day. I felt better later and decided to run those errands. "At the Starbucks on 5th Street?" The question hit me like a physical blow. The cafe where Luke and I met was next to a Starbucks on 5th Street. "How did you—" "Your location sharing is still on from when we went to that concert last month. I was worried when work said you were sick, so I checked to see if you were at the doctor or something." I felt trapped, cornered. The rational part of my brain knew I should come clean, but instead, I went on the offensive. "So now you're tracking my location? What's next, Jonas? Are you going to hire a private investigator?" "I'm not tracking you. I was worried about you." This is exactly what I'm talking about. This controlling behavior. I can't even take a sick day without you interrogating me. Sophie looked up from her coloring, her little face creased with worry. "Are you fighting?" "No, sweetheart," Jonas said quickly. "Mommy and I are just talking." But I was too angry to stop. "Your father thinks I'm lying to him about being sick." "Isola, please, not in front of Sophie." "Don't tell me how to talk in my own house." Jonas's jaw tightened. "This is our house, and Sophie doesn't need to hear this." That night, after Sophie was asleep, Jonas knocked on our bedroom door. I was lying in bed scrolling through messages from my group chat. My friends were being incredibly supportive, telling me I deserved better than Jonas's suspicious behavior. "Can we talk?" "About what? About how you don't trust me? About how you're checking up on me like I'm a teenager?" He sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm scared, Isola. I feel like I'm losing you, and I don't understand why." For a moment, his vulnerability almost broke through my anger. Almost. "Maybe you're losing me because you're acting paranoid and controlling. I found a receipt in your purse, from that cafe on 5th Street, for 2 drinks and 2 pastries." My heart started pounding. "So? You said you were running errands alone." I ran into someone I knew. We had coffee." "Who?" "Just someone from work." God, Jonas, do I need to provide you with a detailed itinerary of everyone I talked to? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I love you. I love our family. If there's something wrong, if there's something I'm not doing right, please just tell me. Don't shut me out." The sincerity in his voice made my chest tight. But then my phone buzzed with a text from Luke. "Thinking about you. Can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore." "There's nothing wrong except your paranoia," I said, turning away from him. The next few days passed in a tense routine. Jonas was quieter than usual, but he stopped asking questions about my whereabouts. I thought maybe he'd finally gotten the message and decided to trust me. I was wrong. Sunday morning, we were supposed to have brunch with both our families at Rosario's, our usual weekend spot. I'd been looking forward to it because my mum would be there, and she always took my side when Jonas was being difficult. We arrived to find both sets of parents already seated at our regular large table. Sophie immediately ran to hug Jonas's mother, Elaine, who had always doted on her. "There's my beautiful granddaughter," Elaine said, lifting Sophie onto her lap. "Did you bring me a picture?" Sophie pulled a folded paper from her pocket. "I drew our family." As she unfolded it, my stomach dropped. The drawing showed 3 figures, a tall man labeled Daddy, a small figure labeled me, and off to the side, separated by what looked like a wall, a figure labeled Mommy. "That's interesting, sweetheart," my mother Mila said, shooting me a concerned look. "Why is Mommy over there by herself?" "Because she's always in a different room now, and she talks on her phone a lot." Jonas and I exchanged glances. Elaine looked uncomfortable. "Kids see things differently than adults," I said quickly. "She's just being creative." "Are you and Jonas having problems?" my brother Kyle asked directly. Before I could answer, Jonas spoke up. "We're working through some communication issues." "Communication issues?" I laughed, but it sounded forced even to me. "Is that what we're calling your trust issues now?" "Isola," my mother warned quietly. "No, Mom, it's fine. Everyone should know what's been going on." I could feel the attention of the entire table on me. "Jonas has been checking my phone, tracking my location, calling my work to check up on me. It's like being married to a private investigator." "That doesn't sound like Jonas," Elaine said carefully. "Well, maybe you don't know your son as well as you think you do." The table went silent. Sophie was looking back and forth between the adults, her eyes wide. "Isola," Kyle said, "maybe we should talk about this later." "Why? Because it makes everyone uncomfortable? Maybe Jonas should have thought about that before he started acting like a controlling husband." Jonas hadn't said a word. He was just sitting there, taking it, which made me even angrier. "Say something," I snapped at him. "Defend yourself." He looked at me with those sad brown eyes. "What would you like me to say?" "I don't know. Something. Anything. Show some backbone for once in your life." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the shock on everyone's faces, but I was too worked up to care. "You know what your problem is, Jonas? You're weak. You're boring. You suck the life out of every room you walk into. Some women need more than someone who does taxes and asks permission for everything." "Isola, stop," my mother said sharply. But I couldn't stop. Months of frustration and guilt were pouring out of me. I'm 32 years old. I deserve to feel alive, to feel desired, to feel like I matter. And if my husband can't give me that, then maybe I need to find it somewhere else. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Sophie started crying. Elaine pulled her closer, whispering soothing words. Jonas stood up slowly. Sophie, come with Grandma Elaine to wash your hands, okay? After they left the table, Jonas sat back down and looked directly at me. Are you having an affair, Isola? The direct question caught me completely off guard. What? How can you even ask me that? Because you just told our entire family that you're looking for what I can't give you somewhere else. I was speaking hypothetically. Were you? I looked around the table. My mother looked stricken. Kyle was staring at his hands. Jonas's father was shaking his head. I can't believe you would accuse me of that in front of our families. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking you a direct question. The answer is no. No, I'm not having an affair. I'm just trying to explain why I've been unhappy. Jonas nodded slowly. Okay, thank you for answering. But something in his tone told me he didn't believe me. When Elaine brought Sophie back to the table, the little girl climbed onto Jonas's lap instead of mine. She whispered something in his ear, and he whispered something back that made her smile. The rest of brunch was awkward and strained. When we got home, Jonas went straight to his office and closed the door. I could hear him on the phone, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. That night, I texted Luke. I think we need to move faster. Things are getting complicated at home. His response came quickly. How complicated? Jonas is asking direct questions. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Maybe it's time to be honest with him. Tell him you want a divorce. Are you ready for that? Are you really going to leave your wife? There was a long pause before his next message. Soon, I promise. Just give me a little more time. But soon and a little more time were starting to feel like empty promises. The next morning, I woke up to find Jonas already gone. He'd left a note saying he had an early meeting and would pick up Sophie from school. It was unusual. Jonas always told me about his schedule changes. At work, I was distracted and jumpy. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected it to be Jonas with more questions, or Luke with more promises he might not keep. Around lunchtime, my supervisor called me into her office. Isola, we need to talk about your social media presence. My heart sank. What about it? Several people have brought to my attention some posts you've made that they feel are inappropriate for someone in HR. She turned her computer screen toward me. My Instagram was open, showing the photo I'd posted of Luke at the hotel bar, along with several other recent posts that could be interpreted as suggestive. These posts, combined with some complaints about your behavior at the conference last week, are raising concerns about your professional judgment. What complaints? Multiple attendees reported seeing you in what appeared to be intimate conversations with Luke Perrin from Morrison & Associates. As you know, maintaining professional boundaries is crucial in your position. I felt like the walls were closing in. Those were just networking conversations. Isola, I'm going to need you to take the rest of the week off while we investigate these concerns, and I strongly recommend you review our social media policy. I drove home in a daze. How had everything spiraled so quickly? A week ago, I felt like I was finally taking control of my life. Now I was suspended from work and facing questions I wasn't prepared to answer. When I got home, Jonas was already there. Sophie was at the kitchen table doing homework, and he was helping her with math problems. You're home early, he said without looking up. So are you. I rearranged my schedule to pick up Sophie. I wanted to spend more time with her. There was something different about his tone. More confident, maybe. Or resolved. Jonas, can we talk? Sure. Sophie, can you go play in your room for a few minutes? We'll finish your homework after dinner. After she left, I sat across from him at the kitchen table. I was suspended from work today. He looked up, surprised. What happened? Someone complained about my social media posts. They think I was inappropriate at the conference last week. Jonas was quiet for a long moment. Were you? Were I what? Inappropriate. I felt defensive again. I was networking. Apparently, some people can't handle seeing a woman have confident conversations with male colleagues. Is that all they were? Conversations? The question hung between us. I could tell him the truth. I could end this charade right now and admit everything. But something held me back. Yes, that's all they were. Jonas nodded slowly. I see. That evening, after Sophie was in bed, I found Jonas in his office. He was at his computer, and when I walked in, he quickly minimized whatever he was looking at. What are you working on? Just some client files. Jonas, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. He turned in his chair to face me. Okay. Do you want this marriage to work? Of course I do. Why would you ask that? Because lately, it feels like you're looking for reasons not to trust me. Like you want to find something wrong. He was quiet for a long time. Isola, I love you. I've loved you since we met 8 years ago. I love our family, but I feel like I'm married to a stranger. What do you mean? The woman I married wouldn't have spoken to me the way you did at brunch yesterday. She wouldn't have humiliated me in front of our families. She wouldn't have made our daughter draw pictures where she's separated from us. His words stung because they were true. People change, Jonas. I've grown. I've become more confident, more independent. There's a difference between confidence and cruelty. Cruelty, I'm being cruel. You mock me in front of our friends. You dismiss everything I say. You make jokes about our marriage on social media. How is that not cruel? I felt tears starting to form. I don't mean to hurt you, but you do hurt me, every day. Then what do you want from me? Jonas looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. I want honesty, complete honesty, about everything. I've been honest with you. Have you? The way he asked the question made my skin crawl. It was like he knew something I didn't know he knew. Yes, I have. Okay. He turned back to his computer. Then we don't have anything else to talk about tonight. I left his office feeling unsettled. Something was happening, something I couldn't quite grasp, and it was making me nervous. The next morning, I met Luke at a different cafe across town. I'd chosen it specifically because it was nowhere near our usual spots. You look terrible, he said when I sat down. Thanks. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear. I'm sorry. I just mean you look stressed. Jonas is getting suspicious, and I got suspended from work because someone saw us together at the conference. Luke's face went pale. Suspended? They're investigating complaints about my professional behavior. Shit, this is bad, Isola. If my company finds out... If your company finds out what? That you were talking to someone at a conference? You know it's more than that. Is it? Because lately I'm starting to wonder what exactly this is between us. Luke reached across the table for my hand, but I pulled it away. What do you mean? I mean, you keep saying you're going to leave your wife, but when push comes to shove, you're worried about your company finding out we had coffee. That's not fair, isn't it? I'm risking my marriage, my job, my relationship with my daughter. And for what? For someone who might leave his wife someday. I am going to leave her. I just need to be smart about it. When, Luke? When exactly? Soon. That's not an answer. That's what you always say. Luke looked around the cafe nervously. Can we not do this here? Where then? When? You won't come to my house because Jonas might see you. We can't meet at your office. We can't be seen together in public. What exactly are we doing here? We're being careful. No, Luke. You're being careful. I'm being reckless. And I'm starting to think I'm being stupid. I stood up to leave, but Luke grabbed my wrist. Don't do this. Don't walk away from us. What us? There is no us. There's you, safely married with your reputation intact. And there's me, suspended from work and lying to my family every day. Give me 2 more weeks. I swear to you, in 2 weeks I'll have everything sorted out. I looked at his face, searching for something that would tell me he was serious this time. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Against my better judgment, I believed him. When I got home, Jonas was in the kitchen making lunch. Sophie was at school, and the house felt eerily quiet. "How was your meeting?" he asked without turning around. "What meeting?" "You left a note saying you had a meeting." I'd forgotten about the note. "Oh, right, it was fine. Just some follow-up stuff about the work situation." "On a Saturday?" "It was informal." Jonas turned around, and there was something in his expression that made me take a step back. "Isola, I need to show you something." He walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a manila folder I hadn't noticed before. "What is that?" "Sit down." "Jonas, you're scaring me." "Please, just sit down." I sat at the kitchen table, and he placed the folder in front of me. "Open it." With trembling hands, I opened the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages. My text messages. With Luke. My blood turned to ice. "Where did you get these?" "That's not important. What's important is that they exist." I flipped through the pages, seeing months of conversations laid out in chronological order. Messages about meeting locations, complaints about Jonas, discussions about Luke leaving his wife, intimate exchanges that left no doubt about the nature of our relationship. "You hacked my phone." "I recovered deleted messages from your cloud backup, messages you thought you'd erased." "That's illegal." "Actually, it's not. You're on my phone plan, and the account is in my name. I have legal access to all data on that account." I felt like I was going to throw up. "Jonas, I can explain." "Can you? Can you explain this message where you call me pathetically boring? Or this one where you say you can't wait to be free of this prison? Or how about this one where Luke says he can't wait to have you in his bed?" Each message he quoted felt like a physical blow. Seeing my words printed out in black and white made them seem so much worse than they had when I'd typed them. I was angry when I wrote those things. I didn't mean them. "Which ones didn't you mean, Isola? The ones where you mock our marriage, or the ones where you plan to leave me for Luke?" I was crying now. "I never planned to leave you." "Really?" He flipped to a page near the back of the folder. "Because this message from 3 days ago says, 'I'm going to tell Jonas I want a divorce next week.'" I remembered typing that message. I'd been so frustrated after our conversation in his office, and Luke had been pushing me to make a decision. "I was just venting. I wasn't serious." Jonas closed the folder and looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize. They were cold, calculating. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Luke right now and end whatever this is between you." "Jonas, right now, Isola, while I'm sitting here." With shaking hands, I dialed Luke's number. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, beautiful, miss me already?" I looked at Jonas, who nodded for me to continue. "Luke, I need to talk to you about us." "What about us?" "I can't do this anymore. This thing between us, it needs to end." There was a long pause. "What are you talking about? Is someone there with you?" I can't keep lying to my family. It's not fair to anyone." "Isola, we talked about this. 2 more weeks and no, Luke, no more weeks, no more promises. It's over." "You don't mean that." I looked at Jonas again. His expression hadn't changed. "I do mean it. Don't contact me anymore." I hung up before Luke could respond. "Good," Jonas said. "Now delete his number." I did as he asked, though we both knew I had it memorized. "Now what?" I asked. "Now we figure out if there's anything left of our marriage worth saving." Over the next few days, Jonas and I existed in a strange, tense bubble. We were polite to each other in front of Sophie, but when she wasn't around, we barely spoke. I could feel him watching me, evaluating my every move. I returned to work after my suspension, but things were different. My colleagues treated me with a cool professionalism that let me know the gossip had spread. Luke sent flowers to my office with a note that said, "We need to talk," but I threw them away without reading the card twice. At home, Jonas had become a different person. He was still quiet, but there was a confidence about him that hadn't been there before. He made decisions without asking my opinion. He changed passwords on accounts I'd always had access to. He started handling Sophie's school communications directly, instead of leaving them for me. It was like he was slowly erasing me from the administrative parts of our life. "I want to go to counseling," I told him one evening after Sophie was in bed. "Do you?" "Yes, I think we need help working through this. I think we're past the point where counseling can help us." "What do you mean?" Jonas looked at me with that new cold expression. "I mean, I don't think you're sorry for what you did. I think you're sorry you got caught." "That's not true, isn't it? Have you thought about Luke today?" The question caught me off guard. "What?" "It's a simple question. Have you thought about Luke today?" I had. I'd wondered if he was okay, if he was angry with me, if he understood why I'd ended things so abruptly. "Answer the question, Isola." "Yes, I thought about him." Jonas nodded like he'd expected that answer. "What did you think about?" "I wondered if he was okay." "You wondered if your affair partner was okay?" "Former affair partner." "Right, former." But the way he said it made it clear he didn't believe the former part. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Jonas was sleeping beside me, but it felt like there was an ocean between us. I thought about the early days of our relationship, when he used to make me laugh, when his quiet stability had felt comforting instead of suffocating. When had I stopped seeing those qualities as strengths? When had I started needing something more? My phone buzzed with a text message. For a moment, my heart jumped, thinking it might be Luke, but it was from an unknown number. "This is not over. We need to talk." L. I quickly deleted the message, but not before Jonas stirred beside me. "Everything okay?" "Just a spam text." "Let me see." I already deleted it. Jonas sat up and turned on the bedside lamp. "Isola, let me see your phone." "Why?" "Because I don't trust you, and until I have a reason to trust you again, I'm going to verify everything you tell me." I handed him my phone, grateful that I'd already deleted Luke's message. Jonas scrolled through my recent texts and call log. "You deleted something." "The spam text." "Show me in your deleted messages folder." I retrieved the deleted message. Jonas read it and his jaw tightened. "Luke is still contacting you." "I can't control what he does." I deleted the message without responding. "Block his number." "I don't know what number he's texting from. It came from an unknown number." Jonas handed my phone back to me. "Block any number you don't recognize, and if he contacts you from a new number, you tell me immediately." "Okay. I'm serious, Isola. If you lie to me again about anything, we're done." The finality in his voice scared me more than his anger had. The next few days passed without incident. Luke didn't try to contact me again, and I started to think maybe we could actually work through this. Maybe Jonas and I could find our way back to each other. I was wrong. On Thursday evening, Jonas asked me to meet him at his office after work. It was an unusual request, but I thought maybe he wanted to talk privately, away from home and Sophie. When I arrived at his building, the security guard directed me to a conference room on the 3rd floor, instead of Jonas's usual office on the 2nd floor. I opened the door to find Jonas sitting at a long table with 2 people I didn't recognize, a woman in a business suit and a man with a briefcase. "Isola, please sit down." "What's going on? Who are these people?" "This is Sarah Mitchell, my attorney, and this is David Chen, a private investigator." My legs went weak. "Your attorney?" "Please sit down." I sat across from them, feeling like I was in a nightmare. Sarah Mitchell opened a folder and slid a document across the table to me. "Mrs. Vane, these are divorce papers. Your husband is filing for divorce on the grounds of adultery, and irreconcilable differences. Jonas, please, we can work this out. We're also filing for full custody of Sophie, the attorney continued, based on evidence of your unstable behavior and poor judgment. You can't take Sophie from me. David Chen, the private investigator, opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Mrs. Vane, we have documented evidence of your extramarital affair, including photographs of you and Luc Perrin at various locations, credit card records showing payments for hotel rooms, and a complete record of your text and email communications. He spread photographs across the table. Pictures of Luc and me at cafes, walking together, sitting close together in his car. Pictures I had no idea were being taken. You had me followed. Jonas spoke for the first time since I'd sat down. I hired Mr. Chen 3 weeks ago, after I found the first deleted messages on your phone. 3 weeks? You've been planning this for 3 weeks. I've been gathering evidence for 3 weeks. I've been planning this since the moment I realized you were lying to me. Sarah Mitchell pulled out another document. We're also prepared to present evidence that your affair has negatively impacted your daughter's emotional well-being, including statements from her teacher about changes in her behavior and drawings that indicate family instability. I thought about Sophie's drawing at the restaurant, with me separated from her and Jonas by a wall. Furthermore, the attorney continued, we have evidence that you used marital assets to fund your extramarital activities, including charges at restaurants and hotels that you claimed were work-related expenses. I want my own lawyer. That's your right, Sarah Mitchell said, but I should inform you that we're prepared to make this information public if necessary. Your employer has already been notified of the investigation. My employer? David Chen nodded. Your affair with Luc Perrin violated your company's ethics policy regarding relationships with clients. Morrison & Associates is one of your company's largest accounts. I felt like the room was spinning. You told my boss about the affair. We provided them with relevant information regarding potential ethics violations, Sarah Mitchell said. What they do with that information is up to them. Jonas leaned forward. Isola, you have 2 choices. You can sign these papers and agree to our custody arrangement, or we can go to court and make all of this public record. What custody arrangement? Supervised visitation every other weekend. I get primary physical custody. Supervised? You want to take my daughter away from me? I want to protect my daughter from the chaos you've brought into our lives. I looked at the photographs scattered across the table. In every single one, I looked guilty. Even the innocent moments, Luc and me talking at a cafe, looked intimate and secretive. What about Luc? Are you going after him too? Jonas and his attorney exchanged glances. Mr. Perrin's wife has already been informed of the affair, Sarah Mitchell said. She's filing for divorce as well, and Morrison & Associates has terminated his employment. My heart sank. Luc had lost his job. His wife knew everything. The life he'd been so careful to protect was destroyed. I need time to think about this. You have 48 hours, Jonas said. After that, we file in court and everything becomes public record. I stood up on shaking legs. Jonas, please, don't do this to our family. For just a moment, his expression softened. You did this to our family, Isola. I'm just trying to clean up the mess. I left the conference room in a daze. In the elevator, I called Luc's number, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried 3 more times with the same result. When I got home, Sophie was at the kitchen table doing homework. She looked up when I walked in, and her face lit up with a smile that broke my heart. Mommy, I made you a picture at school today. She held up a drawing of our family holding hands under a rainbow. In this picture, we were all together, all smiling. It's beautiful, baby. Mrs. Henderson said we should draw our families the way we want them to be, not the way they are. The innocence in her voice made me start crying. Mommy, why are you sad? I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just tired. Jonas walked into the kitchen and saw me crying. For a moment, something passed across his face that looked almost like sympathy. Sophie, why don't you go get ready for your bath? After she left, Jonas and I stood in the kitchen, not speaking. "She doesn't know anything yet," he said finally. "When are you going to tell her?" "When you decide how you want to handle this. If you sign the papers, we can tell her together that Mommy and Daddy are going to live in different houses, but we both love her very much. And if I don't sign, then she's going to hear a lot of very ugly things about her mother in court." That night, I sat in Sophie's room and watched her sleep. Her face was peaceful, innocent. She had no idea that her world was about to be turned upside down because of choices I had made. I thought about Luke, about the promises he'd made that he'd never kept. I thought about the excitement I'd felt when he looked at me, the validation I'd gotten from his attention. Had it been worth this? The next morning, I called Sarah Mitchell and told her I would sign the papers. 2 weeks later, I moved into a small apartment across town. Jonas kept the house, kept most of our friends, kept the life we'd built together. I got supervised visits with Sophie every other weekend, and the knowledge that I had destroyed everything that mattered for a man who had never intended to leave his wife. Luke tried to contact me one more time, a month after the divorce was finalized. He wanted to meet, to explain, to see if we could start over now that we were both free. I didn't respond. I realized that I had never really known Luke at all. I had been in love with the idea of him, with the excitement and validation he represented. But when it came down to it, he was just a coward who had let me take all the risks while he protected himself. Jonas, on the other hand, had turned out to be stronger than I'd ever given him credit for. The quiet, methodical man I'd dismissed as boring had outmaneuvered me completely. He'd gathered evidence, built a case, and executed a plan with precision I hadn't known he possessed. The man I'd thought was weak had been strong enough to do what needed to be done to protect our daughter and himself, and I had been too blind to see it until it was too late. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Jonas at Sophie's school play. He was sitting with Elaine, both of them beaming with pride as Sophie sang in the children's choir. "She looks happy," I said, sitting in the empty seat next to him. "She is. She's adjusted well to the new arrangement." "Are you dating anyone?" Jonas looked at me with surprise. "Why would you ask that?" "I don't know. Curiosity, I guess." "No, Isola, I'm not dating anyone. I'm focused on being the best father I can be to Sophie." We sat in silence for a while, watching our daughter perform. "Do you ever think about what might have happened if I hadn't—" I started to ask, but Jonas cut me off. "No," he said firmly. "I don't think about what ifs. I think about what is." After the play, Sophie ran up to us, still glowing from her performance. "Did you see me sing, Daddy? Did you see me, Mummy?" "You were perfect, sweetheart," I told her, hugging her tight. "Are you coming home with us?" she asked innocently. Jonas and I exchanged glances. "No, baby, remember, Mommy lives in her own house now. But I'll see you this weekend." Sophie's face fell slightly, but she nodded. She'd heard this explanation many times before. As I watched Jonas walk away with Sophie, I realized that I had traded everything real and stable in my life for a fantasy. I had convinced myself that I deserved more, that I was entitled to excitement and passion without considering what I already had. Jonas had been a good husband, not perfect, not exciting, but good, reliable, faithful, present, and I had thrown that away for a man who had never been willing to make the same sacrifices for me that I had made for him. The worst part was that I couldn't even blame Luke entirely. He had never promised me anything concrete. He had never said he would leave his wife by a specific date. He had never asked me to leave Jonas. I had made those choices myself, driven by my own dissatisfaction and sense of entitlement. I had lost my family for a coward who swore he'd leave his wife, but the truth was, I had lost my family because I had chosen to betray it. Luke was just the weapon I had used to destroy my own life. Now, sitting alone in my small apartment, I finally understood the difference between what I had wanted and what I had needed. I had wanted excitement, passion, validation. I had needed stability, faithfulness, love, and I had given up everything I needed for something I only thought I wanted. It was a lesson learned too late, but learned completely. I would never make the same mistake again. But that knowledge couldn't bring back my family, couldn't undo the pain I had caused Sophie, couldn't restore the trust I had broken with Jonas. Some mistakes are permanent, some choices can't be undone, and some people, like me, have to live with the consequences of their actions for the rest of their lives.